Welcome to Leaders in the Arena. My name is Jenny Whitener. I'm the CEO of Bridge Innovate, and we are a global network of business strategists and consultants that team up with you to spark distinctive strategies for growth and change. This podcast is designed to share valuable insights and lessons from our network to support your growth journey. According to Deloitte's 2024 Digital Media Trends, a map of the media and entertainment industry appears exponentially larger than it did just a decade ago, and the landscape is changing. Organizations must remain cognizant of emerging trends and the digital media landscape by being proactive to these emerging trends. How has the media landscape changed over time for organizations like WTCI, the PBS affiliate here? What are some of the emerging trends they're dealing with and an approach to supporting their viewers with public broadcasting? We recently had the opportunity to partner with WTCI, the local PBS TV station for the Chattanooga region, and we are very thrilled to have them here with us today. I'm excited to share with you that Bob Culkeen and Shaun Townley with WTCI are our guests today. And Bob serves as the president of WTCI and has been working in the public television industry for decades and is a big advocate for educational programming and strategic planning, I might say. He's also joined today by Shaun Townley, the Vice President of Production and Distribution at WTCI, who also has extensive background in the digital media and television industry. So thank you so much for joining us today and being a part of our discussion.
You're welcome. It's great to be here.
Great. First, I just wanted to get your read on what's going on. I mean, if we think about so many of our clients are dealing with disruption, right? Whether it's from AI or it's with digital transformation, or maybe their market's shifting, their supply chain's changing, but your industry is going through some pretty significant disruption. Talk to me a little bit about how the landscape is changing in your industry.
Like everybody, digital transformation is real. It's happening and has been happening for quite a while now. And we are, like everyone, trying to figure out what are the things that we can do well to serve our audiences. Where are they? What are they expecting from us? PBS stations across the country, PBS member stations like WTCI PBS are unique in that we are both the provider of great national content that people know and love, things like Nova and Nature and Antiques Roadshow and Austin City Limits and Frontline and all of the great Ken Burns documentaries. But we are also a local nonprofit, and we are here to connect with our audiences, connect with community in meaningful ways, and to partner with other organizations to help educate and engage and inspire our community. We have been for over 50 years primarily a television station. And that's the way we've been thinking about ourselves for a good portion of that lifetime. And, now it is broadcast will continue to be important to us for the foreseeable future, but we are really a digital first organization now. Whereas when I started here in 2007, we were not. And we're just going to continue to listen to our audience and try to figure out where they are, what they expect from us. And we have a lot more data now than we ever have. So it's not just listening anecdotally, but really digging into that data to see what people, how we can best serve the community. I hope that's helpful.
So, Shaun, hit on some really important things that we do here at WTCI. And it's not really about that single stick anymore, the transmitter. It's really about getting our products out there in the hands of our audience, readily and available. And WTCI is now participating in a pilot PBS program where we're actually doing local insertion of membership and development spots. And we have 3 local businesses that are also in the insertion that we're doing that you can see on our passport. You can see it on our streaming services. And as this goes through, we have another 2 months in this pilot program. We're going to assess that and see how that works for the station, because we want to be where the audience is. Another thing that we've done, and you made reference to our strategies, the digital strategies we put in place with our strategic directives. Um, our digital transformation team and our PBS Energy team was looking like, how can we grow our digital strategies? And we looked at our budget to see what we could do, and we couldn't get a full-time person to do what we need here. So we looked at other things to keep us relevant, and looking at a company in town that might be able to provide this service. And we also looked at loan service providers, and we have an independent contract agreement with a new person that started this month, Jenny, and he is leading our
Fantastic.
digital strategies for our whole station, meeting with all our employees, taking a look at that. So digital is really key to how we're getting our product, our events, all sorts of things out to our community.
Right. I just love hearing you guys talk about the change that you're really leading. And when I say that, I just remember the times when we worked together when you were working on developing your strategic directives. So much change happening in the broadcasting landscape, the digital transformation, how your audience is connecting with you, like how they find you. So much change. And I feel like that as a leadership team, you guys just went for it. I mean, you embraced it, you dug in, you got as much information as you could, really stayed connected to your viewers and what their needs were to drive that strategy forward. And even now, just Bob, you talking about the story about we're resource constrained, but we're going to make it happen, right? And just not letting barriers get in your way, being committed, having that real drive. And I think the team knows that. Your team knows that you're fully committed. No matter the change or disruption that's coming at you, you're going to push forward and bring WTCI to the forefront for your viewers. You know, over the period, a lot of companies are dealing with digital disruption, and there are also lessons from COVID. Or is there anything that it's changed, in the post-COVID landscape, in addition to just the digital transformation that's impacting how your viewers engage with you at all?
I think we're more nimble, we're more flexible. COVID challenged us to get people outside of the building and still do their jobs, and to make a remote workforce for 18 months. And what we've done now is, how do we do a hybrid? How do we still satisfy some of the remote working experience that we put together? And how do we still go with a traditional work day or work week and balancing that out? So just managing staff, making sure that the professional development activities is still there for our staff is important. Making sure that they have the tools that they need to do their jobs and do them well. Making sure that the storytelling that we are so good at, not only is telling stories about other people in our community, but telling our story too, was something that we really had to focus on during COVID, because we wanted to know people that were still there, were relative, were there to serve. So coming out of COVID, it was really about being flexible, being nimble, focusing on our staff and making sure that they're safe. And these are the things that we continue to do on a day-to-day basis, and it stayed with us. And Jenny, we're going through a pretty significant building project here over the last couple months, and being able to pull back on some of those remote learning strategies. We're doing that again with our staff to make things happen.
That's great.
I was also going to mention some of the changes in the way our users and our staff use technology. Right now, we're doing a virtual meeting. The acceleration of kind of the adoption of these kinds of technologies across the whole country and really the world made it so that we were kind of less precious about like what cameras we were using. We were thinking more about like, we just have to get this out to folks, and we want to make sure that we're doing it in a way that's efficient and safe. And it just gave us new tools. I mean, the camera that I'm on right now is a DJI Osmo Pocket 3. We take this camera out in the field. We can use it as a webcam. We've shot all kinds of stuff on this, and we wouldn't have dreamed of using a camera this small and this nimble Before the pandemic, it was not something that was, first of all, technically feasible, and second of all, we just had ideas about what that quality needed to be. The quality's changed a lot, and our expectations and our audience's expectations have changed a lot. And so, really, for us, it's about telling the story, and there's a lot of different tools we can use to tell those stories. So we're trying to be more open to new technologies.
Sean
Well,
made reference to this camera, and myself and two other staff members went to the PBS annual meeting a couple weeks ago.
mm,
And one of our executive producers took the very same camera that Sean made reference to and shot a whole lot of video that whole week. Now, I had general managers coming up to me. She had producers coming up and wanted to take photographs of this camera because they could not believe how wonderful it was. And Emily actually put together a minute and a half piece of what happened at the PBS annual meeting with this camera. It looks terrific. But I talked with some people there and said that camera can do. Back in 1981, I was at the launch of a shuttle, and we had to get the news back to the news hour. And what we did that day was used a reel-to-reel 1-inch recorder, recorded it, ran it down this tower that we're on, got it in a cab. The cab drove to a Greyhound bus station. The Greyhound bus station drove to a Greyhound bus station in Tallahassee. It was picked up by a taxi cab, brought to WFSU, who had the only uplink in Florida at that time, and they sent it up to the NewsHour so the NewsHour could run it. And with this camera that Sean has right now, we can go live anywhere we want with that camera. And in a period of my lifetime that I've been working with technology, I've gone from really, complicated, making taxi cab bus runs and all that, to a camera that can do it all with better quality. And the technology right there shows what we have seen in a relatively short period of time in broadcasting, and that it continues to change. And if we don't embrace the change, we're going to lose. So we're
yeah.
embracing it. We're challenged with it. We think about our audience, and there's a long story there, but that's what.
Yeah, great. I mean, great comments in that the industry is changing. You learn to be nimble and flexible from, some of the aspects, if there was a silver lining in COVID. And you've taken that forward and you've really embraced it, getting to know new technologies and being able to be there and be there quickly with all the new capabilities that you have. Talk about public broadcasting, especially in the most recent weeks. There's been a lot of discussion about the need for public broadcasting, or maybe not the need for public broadcasting. What do you see happening in this field? Why is it important for our community?
I've been in public media for a long time. I think it's now more important than ever that public media is a trusted and quality source of information, entertainment, education, all the way around. And unfairly, our brothers in NPR and NPR local stations are getting uh, they're under the microscope a little bit more because they are more news focused, and they live by the news clock and they tell stories. And I find that the stories they tell, if you listen to their full broadcast day, they're fair, they're balanced, and they should be supported. Um, I've been listening to public media and public radio for a long period of time. I've worked at Joint Licensees, which is a station that houses both radio and television. Uh, it's a partnership. We work together. We serve the community. Service is in our name. And with that service in our name is what our mission is all about. So I understand where some of this is coming from. And I just feel that it's now more important than ever to have an unbiased, solid, trusted public media source in your community.
Yeah, I hear what you're saying. I mean, uh, just I know the time that we worked together on your strategic directives, I got more familiar with the reach that you have in public broadcasting and how there are many people that the only news that they get is still connected to a TV antenna on
True.
the top of their house. And while we want to be a society completely internet enabled, not every community, especially rural communities, I know we're working hard on that, they don't have access to the information. And so, Bob, I think what you're saying is they do need to know that trusted, unbiased source, but they also need access. And I'm so encouraged also by the fact that the reach that you have, I mean, the impact that you're making in children's lives with your educational channels, the impact that you're making in the arts and in the senior community where they want the connection. So talk to me a little bit about the viewers that you're reaching today and the influence that you're having in their lives.
Jenny, I think you should talk about the viewers. You just hit it off pretty well. You went from young
I
families to
mean,
kids to
I
senior
mean, I have to
citizens.
admit, I could not have raised my kids without PBS, right? I mean, that was key for my sanity and for their development. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Well, and it is young families. I mean, it's so important to young families, but across the spectrum, we really do have a lot of folks at all age ranges who are enjoying different things. We have a lot of different offerings. I mean, you think about some channels, some stations are really hyper focused on a certain type of programming. PBS, there's really something for everybody. If you're interested in history, if you're interested in the arts, if you're looking for great quality educational programming for young people, it's all of that. Some of the best drama on television is on PBS. And then if you're looking for local connections and sharing stories about our community, we're focused on doing that locally. We have a short documentary series called Greater Chattanooga, which we've produced over 75, 80 different stories about different things going on across our community. We have the A List with Allison Lebovitz, which is going into its 15th season. We've interviewed a lot of fascinating people, some from across the world and some from right down the block. And we also have a program that we've been producing. We're in the third season now of Chattanooga Stronger Together, and we're telling the stories of local nonprofits. These are just some of the things that we're doing with a small team of people. Bob mentioned, going to the annual meeting and talking to folks from member stations across the country. One of our team was talking to somebody and they said, "Oh, how many folks are at your station?" And they said, "Oh, 300, 400." And she said, "How many are at your station?" And our person on our team said, "Oh, about 18." So it's really the breadth and diversity of different kind of stations serving different communities across the country is really impressive. And I think, I couldn't be prouder of the work that our team does day in and day out with the resources that we have in order to serve our community. And we can't do that without the support of the community. And so when we are on television asking, if you see us on social media asking for support, these are the things that we're doing. We feel that connection to the community because they're investing in the work that we're doing for them, and that feels amazing.
It is. We've had some membership growth over the last couple years, which is exciting. And Jenny, you're a member of the Ale Trail, and I know Bridge is also a sponsor of the Ale Trail. And the thing that we have people that are 22 years old up to 82 years old that are members of the Ale Trail. We have 300 plus strong, and the conversations that I have with people when we're in that social setting is how much from a young family all the way up to Masterpiece, This Old House, Antique Roadshow, Finding Your Roots, the A List. It's unbelievable how many people watch and talk about what we do and how we do it. It's a joy to work in public media. And we do have difficult questions like you asked about funding and support, but knowing and like Shaun said, he couldn't be any prouder. Being proud of who we are, what we do, how we do it. It's easy to tell our tale, even when you get challenged and you talk
yeah.
about the value of what we do and how we do it.
Well, one of the things that's been really exciting for me in getting to know you all better over the years has been not just the fact that you do great programming. So I think, so much of our digital industry, entertainment industry, is just about that entertainment. But that's really not what's driving you. You have an extraordinary mission and purpose that uses digital as a storytelling, as a mechanism to live that mission and that purpose. And I see that coming through when you're talking about connecting people across generations, telling stories that create pride in communities, to educating, being that additional resource that brings, youth
Mhm.
education right into the home when people don't have that time or skills themselves as a dual working parent group, or whatever. So I really sense that it's combination of not just entertainment. It is entertaining, but it's with passion and purpose and mission. And that's what seems to me to be completely distinctive about you guys.
Thank you. We just collected that testimonial for you. You'll see it on here pretty soon. Yeah. But one thing that we learned from working with the Bridge Innovate, Jenny, is through the process, you challenged us and we captured 4 questions. And these 4 questions are basically something Shaun's made signs that were put around the building everywhere. Everyone knows them. We talk about a new event that we want to bring in. We talk about a new program. We ask these questions. Does it enrich lives? What is the impact? Is it connected to significant need? Is it something that we are best positioned to provide? And Shaun leads the group and he says, he'll ask us all, can we answer yes to every one of these questions? And if we do, we move forward with it. And that's part of the process, what you just described. It's about passion, it's about knowledge, it's about delivering good quality products. And we have a test that we say, is this something we want to do? Now, sometimes they'll look at me and say, Bob, you're pushing this a little hard. Well, you know what? I'm still the president. No, I'm only kidding. But we do look at those questions really, really significantly. And I just thought you'd like to know how that impact from the process that we work with the Bridge Innovate is enriched into our programs.
Great. Glad to hear it. You talked a little bit about the work we did there on your strategic planning, your strategic directives. Any comments that you would share with other leaders who are embarking on strategic planning and kind of lessons learned or tips that you would share with other senior leaders that are about to champion or launch that project?
I mean, the biggest thing that I got out of it was our staff played a large role in this process, and over and over and over again, we were focused on listening to our team. When you work for a nonprofit, 9 times out of 10, they're there because they believe in the mission of the organization and they want it to be everything that it can be. So if we're listening to the people who are investing their lives and their sweat into the work we're doing, we're going to get to a great place together. But that process has been really exciting for us. Mainly that's because we're just listening. We're trying to figure out, who's got the best. The great ideas come from everywhere. They come from a lot of different places. And if you're open to that, I think that's what I would tell folks who are starting that process. Be open. Don't go in with a plan. You're developing the plan through listening.
Mhm.
In addition to that, we had our staff involved. We involved our board and some community CAB members, some community advisory board members. And we felt that we involved the community through that process. The only difference that I think I would want to bring into the team for our evaluation is get more community input that may not be someone that knows us as much. But this was really a refresh activity. When we go to do it again, I think we'll have more input from the community involved with it. It was more internal, but our staff, we're all community members, but we understand our business better. And even our board members and our CAB, they're community members, but they hold us to, accountabilities. Great process, but I would include more. Like Shaun said, listening is one of the greatest skills that you can do that. And also act upon what you hear. Be
Yep.
active listeners. Just don't listen, be active listeners.
I think those are great, great words of wisdom. And, it's not easy to oftentimes engage your full team because of the time. I know that people today are really stressed, or we're all juggling probably way too much work. But I think, just observing you two lead that process and seeing how you invited each member of the team to weigh in, to be a part of it, you really owned it. They owned it together. crafted the vision, they crafted the strategy. You were guiding them along the way, bringing in new perspective. And so it does take time, but I think at this point, what I see you guys doing is you all are owning it. It's woven into your everyday work. And so congratulations. It's been a
Thank you.
big step, and I see great things happening for you guys.
Thank you.
Um, yeah, anything that you would share in terms of um, the change process? I know, Bob, you talked about getting more external perspective in, but change often is hard. And you talked about this seems easy for you, right? Or even at the beginning of our talk, you talked about digital media, new technologies like the camera that you're using. You all seem to just embrace change so easily. How do you do that? A lot of companies spend a lot of money trying to figure out how to embrace change and new technologies. Why is it so easy for you and your team?
We don't have the luxury of sitting back and just hoping that things go well. We're always looking at change, and we don't. I think largely change is scary. It comes from fear, and we really don't have the luxury of being afraid. We just have to go. The hard part is learning how to say no to things in an intentional way, and that's something that I personally am still trying to figure out the best way to do. We, as a public television station, we talked earlier about all of the things that we do, all the different parts of the community we serve, and all these different ways. That's our nature. We want to do that. That's the mission. But learning how to say no in an intentional way to some opportunities allows us to provide better service to the community. And so that's the I think the next piece for us is making sure that those four questions that we've set up, that we are really focused on going through each opportunity and making sure, is this where we need to be putting our resources right now? And that's not easy to do.
Yeah, it's
When I
not.
think of change, I think of change with purpose. You
Mm.
just want to change because you need to change. You need to change purposefully. Um, I've worked at 5 different PBS stations in my life, and I think change is something that's part of the fabric of Bob. And it goes back to early days. I mean, I'm an Eagle Scout. I like scouting. Be prepared.
Be
When you're
prepared.
prepared, you have to expect change, and if you have to expect change, you can manage change. And if your staff sees change happening and you managing change, they're gonna get on that bus and ride it with you, especially if it's purposeful. And when I think of what Shaun said about being able to say no, I remember a young Bob Culkeen had to develop I call it my philosophy of yield, because I said yes too many times. So I got a little yield sign, and I put it on my date book, I put it on my computer, I put it on my phone, and anytime anybody would ask me something, that sign just was right there. And it took me about a year, Shaun, to figure out that yield was where I needed to go. And it's something that also became the fabric of how I could say yes or no, because I went to yield first. And that is where that happened. I don't know if that's helpful, but
It's great. Yeah, great. I mean, wonderful thoughts and wisdom there on change, and you guys are leading it and driving it and achieving great things. So thanks for sharing that. Talk to me about, as we wrap up today, about what you see as for the future of WTCI and what's ahead.
Like a lot of people in our industry and in every industry right now, everybody's thinking and talking about artificial intelligence. It is a big unknown for us at this point. We have to have some fluency with new tools as they come across. We have to be mindful about how we're using them. Trust is very important for a PBS station. Um, and folks need to know that what they're seeing come out of this station is something that they can trust. So when new tools are available, we're being very deliberate about how we are learning how to use those tools, what they can do, what they can't do, what they should do, what they shouldn't do. Um, just some examples of the ways we're thinking about artificial intelligence right now. We used to send off, we would shoot something, we'd send it off to a company, and they would transcribe it for us very quickly, send it back, and they would have folks out there transcribing, so we could get something, look at it, make some cuts. These days, Adobe Premiere Pro does all of that for us. It's basically taking all of that information and it's transcribing it for you. That is a tool that we're using right now. Some folks think of it as a big change. For us, it is something that is built into the program. But there are generative AI capabilities that we are not using right now because we want to make sure that we know what our audience is expecting from us. We've talked to our community advisory board about these technologies and gotten their opinions on how they think about it and how they think we should be thinking about it, what we should be using, what we shouldn't be. But transparency is really important for us. And it's one of the things that PBS has been talking to stations about. If you're diving in with AI, it's really important for us to be transparent so that the folks know what we're using and why we're using it to enhance the work that we're doing for them.
All that technology is perfect, Shaun, absolutely. The other thing that we need to think about is how we serve our education community and our families, and how important that is to get into community centers and continue to do that fine work, continue to create content that is local and informative for the education folks in our community. Also to, like I said, we're doing a couple of projects here to make our facility more user-faced accessible. So we get the community in to do more things at the station, that we remain relevant, that they don't look at us as a number or call letters. They think about us as a community center, a resource, one that they're welcome at, one that they feel that they can help us do things. We just had our first Be My Neighbor Day on April 20th, and we had, a large community group of families and organizations and fire trucks and ambulances and all sorts of stuff here. And people were not at the station before, and they were like, "This is beautiful. This is great." So we really want to remain relative and a resource for the community in service, using the technology and the events that we can bring to the community.
Fantastic. Well, I'm so excited about your future. And I'm also so excited that you shared your story today because it's been exciting for me to know you as leaders and to see your footprint of what you're leading in our community. And I just want to thank you. I mean, all the stories that you shared today about being prepared for the future, not being afraid of the emerging technologies, but being thoughtful about them. Shaun, what you're saying is like making sure that what we're selecting and the tools that we're using still align to our values and our commitment of trust or our commitment of purpose. And Bob, where you're saying that we've got to be committed to our viewers, the people that we really serve, what those families, what they need, what the students, what the children need in terms of their programming. So there's not often that we get to meet with leaders who are so aligned to growth and alignment to their purpose and mission, and you guys are. So thank you so much for sharing your story today, and I hope to see you again on another Leaders in the Arena program really soon. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Jenny. It's been an honor.
Thank you, Jen.